Welcome back. It's a day of paper wars in politics. The BJP government has released a white paper accusing the Manmohan Singh government of leaving the economy in a bad shape after a decade of UPA rule. Meanwhile, earlier in the day, the Congress released a black paper claiming it is a charge sheet on the BJP's injustice in its decade-long rule. The Finance Ministry, in its white paper, claimed that the BJP government put the country on a resolute path of sustained high growth. Congress, in its paper, criticized the government on the job front. It also alleged that the laws implemented by the BJP government have caused further distress to farmers. I'm now joined by Rajiv Kumar, former Vice Chairman of the Niti Aayog, and Rajiv Govt, National Spokesperson of the Congress Party. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Mr. Kumar, what would, according to you, be the top achievements of the Narendra Modi government, of the NDA government over the last 10 years? Today, this is an election time. The first phase of the budget session is coming to a close, and the government is saying we performed much better when it came to putting the economy back on track than the UPA. What would be some of the key achievements of the government, according to you?
Thanks, Parikshit, for having me on the show. While the white paper, which is a very professionally done piece of work, brings out a whole host of achievements of the BJP government, let me give you the following as the main points for it. First, I think they restored the macroeconomic stability, for the economy, and they found when they took over it, the economy was one of the fragile five, and now it's considered to be one of the bright spots on the global economy because of the fiscal and monetary policy that they followed. Two, I think the build-up of the physical infrastructure has been just unprecedented, and that benefits everybody, including the poor, and reduces the logistics cost of our companies, which makes them more globally competitive. Third, I think is the huge improvement in last mile delivery of public benefits, delivery of benefits to the people, and including that of the digital public infrastructure, which again, as the white paper points out today, 90 crore people are connected now, on mobile phones, and have half of that number have internet access. And then finally, following their Antyodaya philosophy, the very special attention given to those at the bottom of the pyramid, which has meant that about 280 million people are out of the multidimensional poverty. But more importantly for me, the giving of the self-esteem of the people, of the women, by the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, by the Ujjwala Yojana,
Right.
by empowering them through the Jan Dhan accounts, which are now 58 crores of them have opened. So these, I think, would be the real highlights, in my view, of the last decade, this government.
Mr. Govt, coming to you, this is a time when the top leadership of Karnataka has come to Delhi to protest against the centre for what it calls injustices against state governments and the state of Karnataka. Now, you have detailed in the white paper several areas, the promise of 2 crore jobs, the promise of doubling of farmers' income, where the Narendra Modi government has not delivered its promises. But when it comes to an alternative agenda, what is it that the UPA is offering at this juncture? The larger manifesto, of course, is yet to come in, but what are some of the reform agenda or the unfinished agenda, according to you, which the UPA would like to offer to the people, according to you?
You will have to wait for the manifesto for that, Parikshit, to get the details, but I can just give you a precursor. The first thing we would do is pay attention to jobs. This government has failed the youth of this country. Youth unemployment is at massive highs. It was already at a record 6.1% a couple of years ago. And when you look at the job prospects of people who are 20 to 24, 24 to 29, etc., the basic CMIE and other data show that it's up to 44%. Graduates are up to 44% jobless. Their PhDs are applying for jobs of which they're not which they're overqualified for, like peons, right? So those sorts of situations are what we would absolutely remedy, because this government has failed to create jobs. Okay, that's one. Second, we would take care of our farmers. Essentially, we would give them MSP according to the Swaminathan formula, which these people said they would and have never delivered. We would work on reforms together with farmers to prevent the kind of pain that they're going through, And unlike this government, which imposed the black farm laws, and essentially, what shall we say, got hundreds and thousands of farmers to come and protest, and 700 died protesting against the government's farm laws. Like that. Similarly, when we would create opportunities, because this government has failed, they're talking about growth. Why then are 80 crore people living off free food? Do they need it if this is such a wonderful economy? And more than anything else, the most important thing is we would not damage the economy with brilliant moves of these geniuses, demonetization, the hasty GST, all of these sorts of measures that destroyed our MSMEs, that destroyed the opportunities in the informal economy. We would restore, during the UPA years, we brought people out of the farm, out of working on in agriculture to working in other sectors in urban India. Under the Modi Sarkar, we've seen a reversal of this process. People are going back to the farms because there's no growth happening. The investment that we are able to provide the confidence to the private sector, that is not something that you see under this government. The finance minister has been exhorting the private sector, saying, you know your strength, please, you're like Hanuman, please invest, and they still don't, right? So basically, what you would see is that the numerous blunders that have really derailed the trajectory of the economy and its growth, we would do nothing like that. We, Mr. Rajiv Kumar, of mine, use the term fragile.
Mr. Govt, I'll quickly get in a word.
One second.
You've detailed.
Look at the 10 years of economic growth under UPA, compare it to 10 years. COVID came as an excuse. Otherwise, economic growth was dramatically falling before COVID, thanks to this government's blunders.
Right. Mr. Kumar, on the issue of jobs, on the issue of skilling, on the issue of farmers, do you think there's a lot needs to be done? A lot of experts have been questioning the job data. As Mr. Govt has been pointing out, a large number of people are going back to agriculture and the job data is not giving the right picture according to him. What, according to you, the government needs to do now in the next few months? Right now, we have seen an interim budget. The full budget will come out in July. Then we would know the broader trajectory. We would also know the political scene in the country at that point in time. But what is the agenda that India now needs to take forward? What are some of the current pain points that you see, and some which have continued since the UPA era?
Parikshit, first and foremost, I must contradict Mr. Gowda and also wonder why you are talking about the job situation, etc. I mean, after all, there is the periodic labor survey, which has come out and said that our unemployment has fallen from 6.4 to 3.2%. The Congress party talks about, self-employment being included there. That's always been the case. It's never been it's not that the self-employed have been counted as a part of the unemployed. And the female participation rate has gone up from about 24% to 37%. Now, then if you look at the EPFO numbers, which Professor Pulak Ghosh of the IIM Bangalore and Soumya Kanti Ghosh, the chief economist of the SBI, have put out together, you will see that the number of people who are entitled now, who are registered under the EPFO, has gone up significantly, which means that the formal sector jobs have increased. And so I don't think there is this, big crisis that is being painted for about the job. If the jobs were such a problem, then the multidimensional poverty figures would have been very different. Now, on the fact of, what needs to be done, of course, we need to accelerate the rate of growth of manufacturing sector, because that's where the real jobs will come. And that is why the PLI scheme has been introduced with about $12 billion in promised incentives over 5 years. You've got about 14 sectors there, one of which has taken off and shown huge increase in exports is the mobile phone sector. The electronic sector is coming up as well. And more importantly, this is the first working group that I established in Niti Aayog when I joined in 2017, is how to accelerate the rate of growth of our exports. both merchandise and even service exports. I think that's one issue that we will have to tackle. On the agricultural side,
Right.
I think this government has initiated a large number of measures for post-harvest value addition of the primary products, the agro processing, of which only 10% gets processed. So if we do that, then the farmers will get a much better share of value added, because they'll be a party to that. And my own passion has been the expansion of the coverage of the natural farming, the zero chemical farming, as I call it, which lowers the input cost significantly and improves the profitability and the incomes of the farmers who are practicing it, as witnessed in Andhra Pradesh, and 24 million farmers who start practicing already in about 8 states of the country. So those are some of the steps that need to be taken. But I would repeat myself and say that, look, it's not a crisis as is being painted out on the job situation, because if there was, it would show up in public resentment across the country.
Right. All right, we've run out of time, but we'd really like to thank Mr. Rajiv Gowda and Mr. Rajiv Kumar for joining us on the program, giving us their view on the state of economy and what needs to be done going forward. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of News Center. More news and updates continue right here.